Even though the Pittsburgh Steelers remain the last team standing in what was once a hotly contested sweepstakes for free agent quarterback Aaron Rodgers, it is far from a foregone conclusion that the future Hall of Famer will suit up in black and gold for the 2025 NFL season. The speculation surrounding Rodgers' decision continues to dominate NFL headlines, and despite weeks of anticipation, no definitive answer has been given regarding whether he will continue his playing career or where he'll do so if he does. Rodgers, 41, made an appearance on the Pat McAfee show last week, and while many expected some kind of clarity, his comments only added to the uncertainty. The veteran quarterback acknowledged that he still hasn't made up his mind about his football future and candidly admitted that retirement remains a serious possibility. However, he did provide a slight reassurance by stating that he is not waiting for another team to enter the picture, suggesting that, at this point, his options are narrow to either the Pittsburgh Steelers or stepping away from the game entirely. "I'm open to anything and attached to nothing," Rodgers said during the broadcast. "Retirement could still be a possibility, but right now my focus has been, and will continue to be, on my personal life. And that's what I've told the coaches. There's still conversations that are being had. It's all been very honest lines of communication." That last part, honest lines of communication, seems to underscore Rodgers' efforts to keep the Steelers informed while also protecting his personal space during this process. For Pittsburgh, this transparency is appreciated, but it still leaves the organization in limbo as they prepare for the 2025 NFL Draft and finalize their offseason strategy. The situation has prompted serious internal discussion within the Steelers organization regarding contingency planning. While Rodgers would immediately elevate Pittsburgh's offense and put them in the postseason conversation, the team cannot afford to enter the draft or training camp without a clear picture at the quarterback position. They've already watched multiple other options fly off the board earlier in the offseason. Former Steelers quarterbacks Russell Wilson and Justin Fields have landed in New York with the Giants and Jets, respectively, while Kenny Pickett is no longer in the team's plans. That leaves only Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson on the active roster. Rudolph, who has started games for the Steelers in years past, remains a serviceable veteran but is widely considered more of a bridge or backup than a true long-term solution. Skylar Thompson is a developmental piece who is unlikely to compete for a starting job in 2025. With Rodgers' future undecided, Pittsburgh now finds itself in the difficult position of preparing for multiple possibilities at once. One of those possibilities, according to CBS Sports' Jeff Kerr, is pursuing Atlanta Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins in the event Rodgers either retires or decides not to sign with Pittsburgh. Cousins, who just signed a 4-year, $180 million deal with the Falcons, has a no-trade clause, but there has been speculation that he may be open to a move if the right situation arises, especially if the Falcons acquire a quarterback in the draft. While the Steelers await Aaron Rodgers to make a decision, Cousins could certainly be a backup plan as a veteran mentor for a young quarterback, Kerr suggested. Pittsburgh is very likely to draft a quarterback in the early rounds of the draft, someone who could compete with Mason Rudolph for the starting job. Even with a rookie quarterback, the Steelers have too many pass catchers to allow a rookie or Rudolph to start Week 1, Kerr added. Cousins may entertain the possibility of Pittsburgh if he feels a starting job is in his grasp, and one he can maintain for the entire 2025 season. He'll still have to compete with a rookie for the job, but is the quality veteran quarterback the Steelers need in their quarterback room. The fit is intriguing. Cousins is a proven passer who has had multiple 4,000-yard seasons and boasts a career completion percentage above 66%. He's played in big games, operated complex offenses, and handled high-pressure environments. While he's not an MVP-caliber player, he provides stability, a word that has been missing from Pittsburgh's quarterback situation since Roethlisberger retired. To be fair, Cousins did not look like himself last season, but context is important. He was coming off a torn Achilles, one of the most challenging injuries for any athlete, let alone a quarterback in his mid-30s. He threw for 3,508 yards and 18 touchdowns in 14 starts, but his 16 interceptions led the league, a concerning stat, but one that could potentially be chalked up to rust and miscommunication in a new offensive system. Given a full offseason to recover and build rapport with his receivers, Cousins could bounce back in a more favorable setting. Pittsburgh would certainly offer a more complete supporting cast. With George Pickens and newly acquired DK Metcalf at wide receiver, tight end Pat Freiermuth, and a solid backfield, Cousins would have more weapons than he had in Atlanta. He would also work under new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, who has experience building efficient offenses around quarterbacks who don't necessarily need to do everything themselves. The system would emphasize balance, play action, and timing, elements that suit Cousins' game. Moreover, the Steelers front office, led by General Manager Omar Khan, has emphasized the need for competition and depth at the quarterback position. Khan recently confirmed that the team plans to carry 4 quarterbacks into training camp this summer, a move that indicates they're preparing for wide-open competition. We discussed in Palm Beach, at the NFL owners' meetings, a couple of weeks ago, that we go to training camp with 4 quarterbacks. Right now, we have 2 on the roster. All options are on the table on how we acquire those last 2, Khan said on Tuesday. I assure you we'll have 4 when we get to Latrobe for training camp. In other words, the Steelers aren't just looking for a short-term fix, they're assembling a full quarterback room to evaluate and develop across the board. Bringing in Cousins wouldn't necessarily stop them from drafting a quarterback in the first or second round. In fact, it could serve as the ideal bridge scenario. Cousins starts the year, mentors the rookie, and allows the team to transition gradually. However, there is one major roadblock: Cousins' contract. The 4-time Pro Bowler still has 3 years left on a $180 million contract with a significant amount of guaranteed money. Even if Atlanta were willing to trade him, the financial implications are daunting. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Falcons would ask any team acquiring Cousins to absorb at least $20 million of his remaining $45 million in guarantees. No team has been willing to meet that price yet, and unless that figure drops or Atlanta agrees to eat some of the salary, a deal could be difficult to pull off. Nevertheless, Pittsburgh's current situation may force their hand. If Rodgers retires and the team strikes out in the early rounds of the draft, the urgency to secure a competent veteran quarterback will spike. Waiting too long could leave them with only bottom-of-the-barrel options, which is a dangerous game for a team that expects to compete in the AFC this season. While fans continue to hope that Rodgers chooses Pittsburgh, the team's front office is preparing for every outcome. They know that placing all their eggs in the Rodgers basket could lead to disaster if he walks away. That's why the organization is exploring contingency plans, be it a veteran trade like Cousins, a high draft pick, or both. At this point, the Steelers' quarterback situation remains one of the most fluid and fascinating storylines in the NFL. They are a team on the brink, loaded with talent, tradition, and a loyal fan base, but hamstrung by the uncertainty under center. Whether it's Rodgers, Cousins, a rookie, or some combination of all 3, the decisions made in the coming days will define not only the 2025 season but potentially the next era of Steelers football. And until those decisions are made, everything else remains on hold.